Hello and welcome to Long Beach Lens. I'm your host, Derek J. Simpson, Executive Director of the Long Beach Community Action Partnership. Our guests today are from the HomeSmart Realty Group. Please join me in welcoming Orlando Garcia and George Cardenas. How you doing, gentlemen?
Doing great.
Thank you for having us.
Great.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
it's my pleasure, and it's my pleasure because frequently in recent months we've been hearing a lot about the cost of housing in Long Beach. We've been hearing about gentrification in certain parts of Long Beach in terms of, people being moved out. We've been talked about, even the affordability of homes. And I know that's just a big issue. So I really appreciate you coming in because I want to start by you sharing what your company is and what sets you apart in this chaotic time that we are that's called, this day of real estate. So let's start with you and just kind of introduce yourself and what brought you to the agency and why.
Well, my name is George Cardenas, like you mentioned. I've been licensed now for going on 5 years.
Okay.
One of the things that really drew myself to HomeSmart Realty Group is they focus a lot on technology, on using technology with real estate. One of the things that you hear a lot with real estate is that it's done very old school, very traditional, very, how can I say, like it's, I don't know, I think with me, just technology, because I've always been very technology driven. That was one of the things that really caught my eye with HomeSmart Realty
So
Group.
give me an example. So technology, old school versus technology today, leading edge. How would that help in the real estate industry?
One of the things now with just the way we get the word out, we use a lot of social media.
Right.
I've been using social media with my real estate business for the last maybe 3 years.
Okay.
And when I started using technology, a lot of realtors and agents that I knew at the moment, they didn't really think about using technology. They did things the old school traditional way, knocking on doors, making phone calls at, the normal things that, cold calling, the normal things that a real estate agent does.
Now let me ask you, because in this day of fake news and the ads going out, et cetera, if I'm someone, like for instance, we serve people who are low income, right? As an agency, that's our mission to help them move to self-sustainability.
Correct.
What should a consumer be aware of when they're being solicited via technology, for instance, in the real estate? Are there certain things that you should look out for, or certain things that you know that you're getting legitimate information, or is it all pretty much the same?
You know what? It's really hard to identify what's real, what's not real, especially with how big social media has grown.
Right.
One of the things that I do and I've always done very well is if I want to get my word out to a certain audience, let's say if I'm targeting low income housing, one of the things that I do, I target low income housing.
So it's
people.
easier to do it that way. I think
It's
I
easy.
saw something recently on
Correct.
TV where they were saying how you could really target zip codes or
Correct.
certain demographics and
Correct.
everything else.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
you can really get your word out, because I mean, if I want to get the word out on a certain area that's offering special programs for like zero down payment programs, for example, you obviously don't want to target people in the El Dorado States area,
Right.
because I mean it just won't make sense. So you want to try to target more like people that are renters.
Gotcha.
That want tenants that want to become homeowners,
Gotcha.
that just don't know of the programs that are out there.
And I want to get back to that soon because that's an area that our clients here often find themselves in.
Correct.
But you're the silent partner so far, so we want to get you engaged in this conversation over there. And what brought you there, and what do you feel makes you stand out in that arena as well?
Well, what brought me to HomeSmart Realty Group was their overall mentality and how they treat their clients, right? From George and I partnered up a little bit before we joined HomeSmart, and one thing we were looking for in the new office that we were going to join was that we felt comfortable there. With HomeSmart, they really idealize the same things that George and I value, which is we put the client first. It doesn't make sense for us to have clients if we can't, at the end of the day, they're not satisfied. So a lot of the business is referral. And so we need to make our clients happy. So I really enjoyed the fact that when we walked in, they said, "You guys are free to do whatever you want." I like wearing a suit. That's my style. There's certain offices that require you to wear a suit, but that's not quite Georgia's style.
No.
And so for me, I like doing. We needed something that would fit both of us, and I think HomeSmart really fit the bill.
So when I was kind of doing research to try to make this as informative as possible, one of the things I read about was that home ownership rates were the lowest now that they've been since the 1940s.
Yeah,
Correct.
That's true.
That's pretty daunting when you read that, especially if you're a young person or you're a family that's trying to get into that first home. And it went on to say that the cost here are 2.5 times higher than the national cost of homes. With those odds stacked against, and I'm focusing on a Long Beach Cap perspective, how do you encourage a person who's looking to get into the market to say, yeah, that is true, however, this is what we need to think about to get you where you want to go?
Well, the home ownership being at an all-time low is partly related to the meltdown in '08. And back then, a lot of people lost homes. A lot of people got bad advice, bad loans from some predatory lenders that were out there. We're trying to change all that, and what we want to really encourage people to do is do your homework. A lot of the people who lost homes back then aren't aware that they can actually get back into the home ownership market now, as long as even if they've had foreclosures, as long as it's been 4 years since that time.
So that's the magic number then, 4 years.
4 years.
Now, what if their credit was, I would assume, damaged in that process as well? Maybe some people even had to do a bankruptcy or whatever they had to do to keep their head above water.
Even with the bankruptcy, it's 3 years, right?
Yep.
3 years. Even with the bankruptcy, if you file for bankruptcy, you could file for bankruptcy and you could have had a foreclosure as long as it goes past that 4-year mark. Because for bankruptcy, if you have bankruptcy in your credit, after 3 years, you're able to become homeowners once again.
Wow.
But if you've had a bankruptcy and a foreclosure, then you might as well just wait that 4-year period. And there are people who have who've had credit issues because of what happened, like Orlando said, during the meltdown. But credit can always be restored and it can always be fixed. It's just taking the proper steps to do it. There are a lot of credit repair companies out there, and there are a lot of credit repair companies out there that are pretty predatory. They'll go just after one thing. So you got to be really careful on who you work with, who you deal with.
Now that's easy for you to say, but if I'm just trying to figure life out, is there any methodology that one should use to identify who's predatory versus who's legit? Is there a website that one could go to, or not that I want you to call out, or go see these guys or go see those guys, but I'm sure you must face that though when you talk to people.
Yes, of course. And one of the things that we always encourage is to do your homework with that as well. If you're going to search or seek help to fix your credit, don't just go with the first person or the first company you see. You have to do your homework. You have to make sure, you got to look at the reviews, check with the Better Business Bureau. There's companies, there's a lot of reputable companies out there that are doing good, and they truly are doing what they need to do to help people out. And that's a process that can take 6 months to a year. It just depends. It depends on the person's situation. It goes on a case by case. But like I said, fixing credit is not something that's terribly difficult to do. It's just a matter of just taking the action to get it done.
And to add to that a little bit, there are certain companies that will allow you to send them your credit report and kind of get a gauge of how much it's going to cost to have that fixed and the timeline that they're going to be able to. And the good companies will do that free of charge and say, this is what it's going to cost us to repair your credit, and this is how long this whole process will take.
Right. So there is hope then.
There is
hope. Because when you think about 1/3 of California renters spend more than half of their income on housing costs, and you're just spinning your wheels, so to speak. I mean,
year after year. And one of the crazy things is, in Long Beach, the average rent has gone up 5.3% per year.
Yes, in the last 5 years.
So it's
per year.
Per year.
So in the course of a couple of years, you're talking.
And the average rent in Long Beach right now is at $2,050, and I think that's for a 2-bedroom apartment. So over in the average of, well, in about 10 years, somebody who's renting at 2,000 right now will probably be closer to about 3,000 in 10 years. And that's about what you would pay for a mortgage,
Right.
you know. But the difference being that after 10 years, you know, if you're renting, you have nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
If you buy now, you're guaranteed that for the next 30 years, you're going to have the same mortgage. Unless you obviously said that you want to get out of that and get into something different.
Refinance or whatever the case may be, of course.
Right.
Yeah. And one of the things too, by renting, you really don't seek any of the benefits, tax benefits. You don't build any equity. You're pretty much, your capital grows when you own property, and that's one of the things a lot of people don't understand.
We got just a minute or so before we go into a break, but the down payment, that seems to be the thing, right? I mean, are there ways to come up with that? Is that just a mountain you can't climb?
No, absolutely not. I think there's a misconception about the down payment.
Yeah.
FHA is one of the programs that's actually built to get first-time home buyers and low-income people into homes.
Even in California?
That's
Okay.
that's nationwide.
Right.
However, in the surrounding areas here in California and Long Beach, there are programs that will allow you to buy with as low as 1% down. So with 1%, you can, you know, $500,000 home, you come in with $5,000 and you can be a homeowner.
Hold that thought. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we will continue our discussion with Orlando Garcia and George Cardenas. Stay tuned for more of Long Beach Land.
We're gonna race to find out who can build a cart the fastest. To your left, you have Harmony Tangonan. To your right, you have Jesus Gonzalez.
Yeah.
We're gonna go in 5, 4, 3, 2, start building.
So much noise, Jesus.
It's an intimidation tactic.
On the floor.
Oh, geez, she's over here. That's a loss. I can't get to that. Stop.
So Harmony Tangonan is stuck in the lead, and she's our winner. And the prize is that she gets to build all the rest of these. Did you throw the contact?
Oh, no.
Long Beach Lens. I'm Derek J. Simpson. We've been speaking with Orlando Garcia and Richard Cardenas of the HomeSmart Realty Group. And gentlemen, you guys have been opening my eyes to some things that I didn't know. I'm a novice in this as well. But when we left, you were speaking to the down payment. I mean, that's often the intimidating factor that, wow, yes, I pay X in rent and I know I could pay the mortgage. I just don't have the down payment to get me into a home. What do you say to that person?
A lot of people believe that they need 20% down to get into a home, and that's just not the case. You know, like I said, FHA allows you to get in with 3.5 down. And other programs, we work with a lot of lenders who have different programs, and we try to match our clients with the best lenders for their programs. But there's a lender that we have right now that it's doing it with it's actually a 3% down program, but the buyer only has to come in with 1%, the lender puts in the other 2%. And the best thing about that is that it doesn't have mortgage insurance. And so, you know, that's saving them money on their monthly mortgage as well.
Wow, very cool. Now, the other thing that you were mentioning during the break was that there's a credit score difference between buying a home and renting.
Yeah,
and
that's one of the things that it really blew our minds when it really clicked, because to be a homeowner, you really need, for FHA, you need a 580 credit score. And in some cases, it could be even under 580. I mean, of course, a down payment at that point would have to be a bigger percentage. But so you need a 580 credit score to buy a home. To rent a home, most landlords require you to have a 680 credit score, which really like blew my mind. I was like, wow, you can have not the greatest credit and own a home, or you can have pretty decent credit and still not be able to get into rent a home. So it's a little disturbing, actually.
Yeah, it's very disturbing. It's very disturbing. And as I was mentioning, we're talking about just the whole rental concern, that how much the application fees are and how much a single person would have to pay. You apply to one place, but you don't get it. You still got to pay for those applications for everyone in that household.
Correct.
And that adds up. And so for people low income, that becomes prohibitive as well. And right now, it seems that the owners of those apartments or the management companies can be selective to a degree. And
Correct.
so you're not always the first choice. And I've been hearing that story as well.
Correct.
Let's talk about solutions, because you guys have a strategy for home ownership, and you talked about the first step is getting approved by a lender. So let's start with that, and let's quickly go through your perspective on what are the steps for getting approved. Let's say I'm ready, right? You've convinced me I need to stop renting. I got that 1%. I'm ready to do this. What's that first step?
The first thing we're going to do is we're going to want to sit down and do a buyer's consult. Right? What that does is explains the entire process to you. Our job is really to educate you as to what this is going to entail, and really make sure that this is the right thing for you and your family.
Okay.
And then from there, we'll sit down with a lender. You'll bring in all your financials, and he'll look them over and give you a better idea or exactly what you would qualify for, what your monthly mortgage would be, and make sure that you could actually pay that every month and what's comfortable for you.
And in some cases, if at that point or at that time it's not the right time, we set up a plan and try to work with the client until he's able to get to that point to become a homeowner. It could be a credit issue. It could be, like I said, a down payment issue. I mean, there's some multiple things that can be. One of the things that we come across a lot, that people that are ready to buy a home or want to buy a home, they disqualify themselves before even really knowing what's out there.
That's an excellent point.
They disqualify themselves and think, oh, my credit's not great, oh, I need this, or I need that, when in reality, they probably can own a home.
Yeah. Now we're ready, we've got that conversation done, choosing a home. I see some people looking at fixer-uppers. Is that a good idea or no? Because sometimes that could be the money pit, right?
Yes.
But how would you go about choosing a home?
Choosing a home, we really look at the needs of the family. If it's a family that wants to become a homeowner, but they don't have a ton of money, they don't have a ton of funds saved up, then maybe buying a fixer-upper might not be the best thing. I think at that point we would try to get them into a starter home that can work for them for the time being, until they're able to upgrade or upgrade their home, or just move into a different area, a nicer area, or whatever the case may be. And that's, of course, down the line after the home builds some equity.
Now, talking about areas, I mean, is there any kind of research that a person can do? I mean, some neighborhoods might look a certain way, but in fact be totally different in terms of it may look like, whoa, I don't want to live there, but in fact, there's a community fabric. Is there a strategy that one might employ when they're out there looking to see? Do you look online for police records or whatever?
Yep, absolutely. You want to get online and do your research.
Okay.
Right? On top of that, once you've identified the home that you want, drive by it a couple of times. You're entitled to drive by at various times of the day and see what's it like in the day, what's it like,
And on Saturdays, right?
On Saturdays,
on weekends, of course.
When you want to sleep in and you can see who's working on the car next door.
Yeah. Exactly. What the parking situation is, right?
Yeah. And that's a major issue too.
Yep.
Huh?
Yeah.
I mean, home with parking, I would imagine, would be a premium, especially certain areas of Long Beach.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now we've gotten approved by our lender. We've looked at the homes. Making an offer is a step.
Making an offer, one of the things that we really look into is we try not to look for homes. Let's say every buyer will have a certain qualification. We try not to get them into the home that's going to be the highest home that they qualify for. And with that said, because I'm sure you've heard of people getting outbidded all the time, we want to give ourselves enough wiggle room in case we do have to become the one outbidding the next person over. Mm-hmm. So we try to find a home that's going to be within their price range, within their monthly payment budget, and something that can work for them. So we try not to put our clients at the cap, because then we're going to be getting outbid every single time.
Gotcha. And then there's the closing. You got all that done, and it's the closing. What should I be mindful of? That's the fun part, you said.
That's the fun part.
Okay. Why so?
Well, because your dreams, if we've done our job correctly, it would be faster and easier than you thought it was.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of times,
kind of like this segment we're in right
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So we have clients that we tell them, hey, be ready to move by next Friday, and a lot of times they're surprised that it's so fast. They're like, wow, already, really? Because it's not as, we do everything on the back end so that it makes it easier for the buyers or the sellers in whichever case to be just minimally involved in the stressful parts of it. So.
Well, you talk about timing. So from start to finish of this process, on average, how long are we talking? Months?
No, on average, from the time, I guess it goes case by case, because we've had clients that we've worked with for 14 months, 16 months, because we just haven't found the right house, and we're not the type of agents that give up on our clients. We keep searching, we keep looking. Sometimes we'll take a step back and kind of let things cool down a little bit, and then we'll pick right back up where we left off. Because one of the things one of our philosophy is that it's about the clients, not about us. The client's the one that's going to live there. They're the ones that are going to make the payment. They're the ones that are going to make repairs if needed. So it's not about us. It's got to be about them. It's got to be what works for them. So we've come across clients where we'll find them a house in the first trip out, and then by the time the process starts to the time we close escrow, usually about 40 days. And there's, like I said, there's other clients that we've worked with that, we've looked for 8 months, 10 months, sometimes a year, sometimes a year and a half. It just depends.
So life could change for a family in 40 days. And
correct.
In the best case scenario. That's pretty
correct.
amazing to say.
It is.
It's like Christmas. You could be in your own home with your own Christmas tree.
Yes.
Or whatever holiday you celebrate.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we had a family that
holiday.
we put into a home last year, and I got a little choked up because he didn't think they were going to be able to find a home, and when we opened up the door, the kids ran through and picked their own rooms, and he started
awesome.
getting teary-eyed, and I got a little teary-eyed. But that's why I think we love what we do, and we're passionate about
You're
it.
changing lives. We say we're helping people changing lives, but you're doing it in your own way.
In a different way.
What question have I not asked you that you think there's an answer people really need to hear, gentlemen? Let's start with you.
One of the things that I think of a lot of people, one of the things that we've been coming across, older families or older couples that, their kids have all moved on, homes have gotten too big, they're tired of walking up and down stairs. There's opportunities out there to downsize, especially right now with if they've owned the home for 30, 40 years. they probably have a ton of equity there where they can downsize and get into something a little more comfortable for them. But I mean, of course, that's always the same thing. It's a case-by-case issue, and it's just a matter of sitting down with them and talking to them, see what we can do to help them.
Helping them downsize.
Correct.
Yeah. Is there anything that comes to your mind that you think people should really know?
I think we touched on it a little bit earlier, where if you're not sure if you can buy a home, don't disqualify yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get a hold of somebody. Take the proper steps to actually make sure. And right now might not be the right time, but hopefully you'll be put on a plan that in the future you'll be able to buy.
And I think that was intriguing to me when you said that earlier, is that at least you got to take that first step.
Correct.
Because it's a 100% chance the answer is no if you don't ask the question.
Exactly.
So don't disqualify yourself.
It's like Wayne Gretzky said, you're going to miss 100% of every shot you don't take.
Yeah.
And it's the truth.
Yeah.
I think people are just so scared to ask. But I mean, one of the things with us, with our approach that, we try to keep things light, like we were talking earlier. We try to keep things light, and we become friends with our clients. So we try to keep an open relationship with them where they can ask us pretty much anything they want or anything they need to know, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah. Now, we have your contact information so that people can follow up with you, and we'll make that available. But I think the fact that you are personable and that you're knowledgeable, because knowledge is power.
Correct.
And in these scenarios, people need to be as informed as possible, because as we were saying before the show, this is the greatest investment one might make in their life financially.
Correct.
And so you really want to think it through. But you got to take that first step.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And taking that first step with credible people who know the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Is important. I really appreciate you, gentlemen. It was great information, and I appreciate what you're doing in our community to serve everyone, no matter what the socioeconomics are. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
I'd like to thank again Orlando Garcia and George Cardenas for joining us on today's show. Be sure to follow PadNet TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest updates. We also welcome your comments and thoughts regarding this show as we strive to make Long Beach Lens a favorite source of local news, information, and entertainment. This show has been brought to you with support from the Long Beach Community Action Partnership, helping people, changing lives. Thank you for watching Long Beach Lens.